Do you know the moment in a mother's life when she feels like she disappears? Not when her child grows up, not when her hair begins to turn gray, but when the very child she gave birth to says something that turns her heart to stone. I remember that day clearly, a freezing winter afternoon. I was standing in my little kitchen, stirring a warm pot of chamomile tea. The kitchen smelled of honey, quiet and peaceful, the kind of peace older mothers only get when they live alone. My phone buzzed on the table with a familiar ting. I thought casually, maybe Andrew sent a photo of Lily at school, or maybe Donna is sharing a new cake recipe. But when I picked up my phone, when I read the message in the Harper family group chat, time suddenly froze. "Mom, we think it's best if you stop coming over for a while. We need our privacy. Andrew." Right below it was a reaction from Melissa, my daughter-in-law. A heart, but not a loving one. A heart that meant, yes, finally. This should have happened long ago. I stood still. The whole kitchen seemed to tilt. The chamomile kettle kept bubbling softly, but inside me, everything went cold. Andrew, my only son. The boy I raised alone from the age of 14 after my husband Sam died of cancer. All those years working nonstop, all those nights teaching extra classes until 8 p.m., everything I gave up. Friends, dating, a life so he wouldn't feel the emptiness of growing up without a father. And now? One message. Just a few lines, sent in a single second, but enough to erase 30 years of sacrifice. I read it once, twice, 3 times. No mistake, no misunderstanding, no. Maybe he's tired. It was real, raw, and cruel. Melissa didn't type anything. Just that reaction. Just a tap of her finger to approve removing me from their lives. In the group chat, my sister Donna, my brother-in-law Jared, all silent. No one asked if I was okay. No one questioned Andrew's tone. No one said, "That was harsh." Only silence. Silence more painful than words. I put the phone down, inhaled deeply until my chest hurt. Tea spilled from the pot onto the counter, but I couldn't feel the warmth anymore. In 10 seconds, 1,000 thoughts rushed through my mind. Did I do something wrong? Did I visit Lily too often? Was Andrew annoyed with me? Was I being intrusive? A burden? Too much? But then, another thought surfaced. A thought not born from fear, but from the clarity of a mother who has endured far too much. Andrew and Melissa live in the house I paid $70,000 for as a down payment. I pay the annual property tax. Every month I send them $4,500 because Melissa said her income was unstable. The bills are still on my table. I pulled money from my retirement early for them. And what did I get in return? A polite request to stop coming over? I wiped my hands on a kitchen towel, sat down, and picked up my phone again. Andrew's message still stared at me cold, blue, emotionless. I closed my eyes. Then I started typing, "I understand. I will respect your request. And starting this month, I will also stop paying the house tax, stop the $4,500 monthly support, and stop Lily's education fund. I hope you will also respect my decision. Love, Mom." No anger, no blaming, no accusations, just a calm, polite answer. With the power of an earthquake, I hit send. 2 blue ticks appeared. Done. I stood up, poured myself a fresh cup of tea, took a sip. For the first time in months, the tea didn't taste bitter. My heartbeat slowed. Steadier. Quiet. But 3 minutes later, my phone exploded with calls. Then messages. Then more calls. 25 missed calls. Dozens of texts. "Andrew, Mom, wait. I didn't mean it like that. Mom, don't do this. The house payment isn't done yet. Melissa is panicking. Please pick up. Mom, are you mad? I'm sorry. Melissa. Mom, this was just a misunderstanding. We just wanted some space. Please don't cut support. We're really struggling." They even called from unknown numbers. The phone buzzed so nonstop it slid across the table. But I just watched it, quiet, unmoved. Not rushing to open my heart like I always had for 30 years. Outside, the sky darkened into purple. Leaves rustled in the cold wind. I put my cup down and stood up straight. For the first time in my life, I felt this. I'm no longer afraid of losing my son. What I fear is losing myself. And I had lost myself for far too long. If you want to know why Andrew sent that message, why Melissa wanted me gone from the house I helped them buy, and what happened after I cut off all financial support, stay with me. And tell me, where are you listening from? Comment your city or country so I know our Voices of Auntie Tay family is spread across the world. Don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay so you won't miss more emotional family drama stories. To understand why Andrew sent that message, we must go back many years, back to the moment everything began to shift without me noticing. If there is one thing that blinds a person more than anything else, it is a mother's love for her only child. I was no different. I loved Andrew so deeply I never noticed the moment I began fading into the background, becoming the shadow, becoming the person everyone assumed would always say, yes, ill help. And the most painful truth is, I volunteered. I still remember the day Andrew brought Melissa home for the first time. It was a damp, chilly March weekend. My little house smelled of cinnamon and apple pie. I spent nearly 2 hours fixing my hair and choosing a cream cardigan, the one Andrew once said made me look 10 years younger. I wanted to leave a good impression. What mother wouldn't? Melissa walked in with a bright smile, hugged me, and said all the sweet things mothers love to hear. I heard from Andrew, "You're the best teacher in town. Meeting you, I understand why." I believed her. Fully. I didn't know that some smiles exist to hide sharp knives. At first, everything was wonderful. Melissa often texted me for cooking tips, laundry tricks, winter skincare advice. I was genuinely happy. For the first time in years, I felt less alone. But slowly, little signs began to appear. One night, Andrew brought Melissa for dinner. I cooked his favorite beef mushroom stew. When I set the pot on the table, Melissa giggled. "Cute, but we're doing clean eating now. Andrew shouldn't be eating red meat." Andrew didn't defend me. He just shrugged. "Yeah, maybe I'll eat less." A small sting. But it hurt. Then money entered the picture. Melissa's nail salon income was unstable. Andrew was new at his construction job. One evening he looked at me with those pleading eyes I could never resist. "Mom, we found our dream house. But we're short $70,000 for the down payment. We don't want a high-interest bank loan. It's a lot, but we'll pay you back." $70,000. Sam's cabin money. The place where we roasted marshmallows under the stars. The place I cried alone for months after he died. But when Andrew said dream, I caved. I always caved for Andrew's dreams. I gave them the money. No contract, no conditions. Just one sentence. "Promise me you'll keep that home happy." When they got married, I wasn't part of the planning. Melissa said, "Mom, let my mother handle everything. You just attend." I understood. But it still stung. Then they moved into the house I helped buy, and soon Andrew came again. "Mom, can you help with property tax this year? Melissa's job isn't stable yet." I paid. Then again next month. And again. Temporary became 40 months. But what hurt most wasn't the money. It was how Melissa slowly pulled Andrew away from me. Lily, my granddaughter, became the light of my life. But Melissa controlled every moment I had with her. "Mom, don't hold her too much. Mom, don't give her cookies. Mom, today isn't convenient. Mom, don't buy too many toys." I once asked Andrew, "Do you mind me visiting?" He smiled. "No, why would I?" But his eyes avoided mine. He feared upsetting Melissa more than he valued comforting me. And when a man fears his wife more than he loves his mother, his silence becomes the cruelest rejection. For years, the cracks deepened until Andrew finally sent that message, "Please keep your distance." But to understand why he dared to say that, why Melissa reacted so casually, why the whole family stayed silent, you must know the event that truly began the collapse. An event that nearly made me fall to my knees right in front of their house. But before I continue, tell me where you're listening from. Comment your city or country. It means so much to know you're here with me and the Voices of Auntie Tay family. And if this story touches you, don't forget to subscribe for more emotional family drama stories. If you ask me what cracked my heart for the first time, it was that June afternoon. Just an ordinary afternoon, golden sunlight pouring through the window like honey. I was carrying a small gift for Lily, a knitted scarf I'd spent 2 weeks making. Mint green, her favorite color. I thought it would be simple. Drop off the gift, kiss my granddaughter on the forehead, then go home. I never imagined I would hear something no mother should ever have to hear. Around 4 p.m., I arrived at Andrew and Melissa's house. The house was quiet, the door unlocked, which almost never happened. I knocked twice. No answer. From inside, I heard faint sounds like someone talking, but I couldn't make out the words. I just planned to leave the gift at the door and go. But when I walked around to the backyard to see if Lily was there, I heard Melissa's voice. Clear as day, sharp as a knife. I told you, I can't stand Andrew's mom anymore. I froze, like someone had locked me inside a freezer. Another woman's voice, probably. Melissa's friend came through the phone. What now? Did she show up unannounced again? Melissa gave a short, bitter laugh. No, but she will come. She always does. I swear, she treats this house like it's her own. I haven't even dared to remodel my office for 3 months because I'm afraid she'll just pop in. My heart stopped. Remodel? The office? The room where I usually slept whenever Lily got sick and Andrew asked me to stay over? Melissa kept talking, her tone full of frustration. I've already put a deposit down for the studio photo shoot. $12,000. But with Linda sticking her face in here anytime she wants, how am I supposed to let workers come? Her friend laughed. Then find a way to see her less. And then Melissa said the sentence, "I'll remember until the day I die. I'm already doing that. Andrew is working on getting her to stop clinging to us." Stop clinging? Me? A mother clinging to her own child? I took a step back, my hand gripping the wooden fence, trying to keep my breathing quiet. Only then did I notice a softer male voice inside Andrew. Mel, don't talk like that. Melissa instantly snapped back. If you don't get firm with her, she'll be here forever, and I can't stand it. I didn't get married to live with my mother-in-law. Silence for a few seconds. Then Andrew said the words that almost made my knees give out. I'll text her this weekend. Which weekend? What text? A text asking me not to come anymore? It felt like the ground disappeared beneath my feet. I stood alone in the backyard, holding that tiny knitted scarf, feeling like the whole world had just shoved me out the door. I looked down at the scarf in my hands. Every stitch I'd made, one by one. I had imagined Lily smiling when she saw it. But now, in my hands, the scarf felt heavy with truth, with humiliation, with the feeling that I no longer belonged in the very place that used to be my family. I quietly left the backyard. No one knew I had been there. No one knew what I'd heard. No one knew my heart had shattered right there in that moment. I drove home without remembering how I got there. I only remember my hands shaking so badly I had to pull over 3 times. I only remember the tears falling without me even realizing, not out of anger, but out of pure hurt. That night when Andrew texted, "Mom, did you come by today?" I replied with just 3 words. No. Why? He said it was nothing. Just asking. I knew he was preparing himself to have a talk with me like Melissa wanted, and I understood. The story wasn't finished yet. 3 days later, Andrew sent that "please keep some distance" message in the family group chat. The very thing Melissa had pushed him to do, the thing I had overheard in the backyard that day, and that little reaction from her as if she was being kind, when in reality she was enjoying her victory. But what they didn't know was, they had chosen the wrong person to humiliate. I was no longer the Linda who froze in the backyard that day. I had become a different Linda, a Linda they would have to look at with very different eyes. Do you know what hurts more than betrayal? It's when your own son stays silent while someone else tears you down. When he chooses peace in his small family over respect for the woman who gave him life. When he chooses what's easy instead of what's right. But maybe, if I hadn't been in that backyard, hearing those words, I never would have changed. Sometimes God lets us hear what we shouldn't hear, so well, wake up. That night, I took a piece of paper and wrote 3 words. Enough is enough. Enough. And from that moment on, a new journey began. A journey where I, the mother who was seen as clingy, annoying, unnecessary, finally decided to stand up and show them what boundaries really look like. But what happened after I sent the message saying, "I'll stop all support"? What made Melissa panic? What pushed Andrew to the edge? And what made Lily, that sweet 7-year-old angel, call me in tears? You'll hear all of that in the next part. But before I go on, tell me, where are you listening from? Vietnam, the US, Australia, Canada, Europe. I read every single comment as if I'm sitting right next to you, talking like old friends. Don't forget to hit subscribe and like so Voices of Auntie Tay can keep sharing these raw, healing family drama stories. There are decisions that don't need shouting, slamming doors, or angry words. Sometimes silence alone is enough to shake an entire family. And my decision to stop all financial support was exactly that kind of silence. When I sent that message in the group chat, I didn't think it would create such a storm. But just 3 days later, I began to feel the first winds of chaos from Andrew and Melissa's side. On the third morning, while I was watering my rosemary pots on the balcony, my phone rang. Unknown number. I didn't answer. Right away, a text came in. "Mom, the bank called me. The mortgage for this month isn't paid. Please pick up." I stood still, water from the hose dripping onto the soil in a thin stream. I didn't reply. Not because I wanted to punish him, but because I had finally learned that love cannot save people who don't respect it. About an hour later, another message. "Mom, I managed to pay part of it, but the bank says if we're late another week, there will be a penalty." That's how it was. Just 3 days without me, and their strong little family began to crack. That evening, my sister Donna called in a panic. "Linda, I heard Melissa went crazy. She told Andrew he's a useless man for letting his mother cause drama." I laughed. For the first time in a long time, I laughed. Freely. Cause drama? All I did was send one message, a polite message. Donna went on. "I also heard she's planning to go back to her mom's house for a few days. She said she can't live with a man who doesn't know how to control his mother." Control me? The idea was almost funny. I'm just an old teacher, a 6-year-old woman who likes knitting and chamomile tea. But in Melissa's eyes, I was an obstacle standing in the way of her comfort. On the 5th day after the keep distance text, I got a message from Martha, Donna's friend, who works at the local bank. "Linda, Andrew's house, is at risk of going into delinquency monitoring." I didn't ask for details. I just thanked her. Then I made myself a cup of hot cocoa. I didn't want Andrew to lose his house. I didn't want Lily to have to change schools. I didn't want his family to fall apart. But I had finally understood this. Saving people who don't respect you is the fastest way to make them despise you even more. On the 6th night, Andrew called non-stop. I put my phone on silent. But on the 12th call, I heard Lily's voice in a voice message he sent. "Grandma, Daddy is so sad. Grandma, I miss you. Why don't you come anymore?" That pain was unlike any other pain. It felt like invisible hands squeezing my heart. But I still had to stand firm. I replied to Andrew with just one sentence. "When you're ready to talk honestly, text me." I wasn't running away. I was simply refusing to keep playing the mother who takes all the blame. On the 7th day, Donna rushed over to my house, face tense. "Linda, you need to hear this. This morning Melissa actually packed up and went back to her mom's house." I wasn't surprised. Melissa needed 2 things, money and control. When one of those disappeared, she would walk away like clipping off a loose thread from a nail. "How's Andrew?" I asked. Donna sighed, sitting slumped on the front steps, eyes all red. The whole neighborhood saw. I listened, my heart heavy, heavy with sadness, heavy with regret, but no longer heavy with guilt like before. I was past the guilt stage. A mother can love her child deeply, but she cannot live his life for him. On Sunday, Andrew sent the longest message he'd sent since this all began. "Mom, I'm sorry. I'm really sorry I let things go this far." Melissa left. "I've lost control of everything. If you can't forgive me, I understand. But please don't let me lose the house. Lily needs a stable place." I sat reading that message longer than I expected. So long that the tea in my hands went cold. Then I looked up at Sam's photo on the shelf, the picture from 1997, his hand on Andrew's shoulder, his eyes filled with pride. Softly, I spoke as if to him. "If you were still here, what would you do?" And in my heart, I heard the answer I knew Sam would give. "Give him a chance. But don't give a chance without conditions. Sam was always kind, but he was also fair, and that was what I needed to learn again. That night, I texted Andrew a single line: "Tomorrow, 3 p.m. Meet me at Maplewood Library. We'll talk." I chose the library, not his house. Not mine, a neutral place. A place where I could control the direction of the conversation. It was also my way of telling Andrew, from now on, things will follow my rules. Not his, not Melissa's, no one else's. And that was the beginning of the conversation that would change everything. But before I tell you what Andrew said that day, before I tell you the decision that shifted both our lives into a new chapter, I want to ask you something. If you were me, would you forgive him? Or would you let your child face the consequences? Share in the comments. I read every story, every line, and sometimes your comment becomes the strength that thousands of others need while listening to Voices of Auntie Tay. And don't forget to subscribe, because part 6 is where Andrew truly faces the consequences of his choices, and where I learn how to stand firm through it all. The next day, I arrived at Maplewood Library a little early. The library was quiet in the afternoon, the smell of old paper, the soft sound of turning pages, sunlight spilling through the windows in golden streaks on the floor. I chose a table by the window, where I could see the red maple tree outside, the same spot where Andrew and I used to sit and do math homework when he was 10. Back then, he sat beside me, small hands trembling with a pencil. He whispered, "Mom, when I grow up, will you get old?" I laughed. "If I get old, you'll be my legs." I didn't know those legs would later walk me around in circles through so many nameless pains. At exactly 3 p.m., Andrew walked in. The moment I saw him, my heart tightened. Andrew, the son who used to be strong, quick, full of confidence, now looked like a man who'd just gone through a storm. Sunken eyes, messy hair, a wrinkled shirt. He looked around, then saw me. His steps faltered, as if he was afraid I'd vanish if he moved too fast. When he sat down across from me, I could smell sweat and sleepless nights. "Mom." His voice cracked like rotten wood. "Sit down, Andrew," I said, strangely calm. He sat. Both of his big hands were on the table, but they trembled like a little boy's. After a few seconds of silence, Andrew spoke. "Mom, Melissa really left. She said, 'I'm not a man who knows how to protect his family.' She also said, 'I should have made you understand your place.'" I frowned slightly. "My place?" Andrew swallowed, eyes red. "Mom, I know. It sounds disrespectful. I should have protected you, but I was too weak. I was afraid Melissa would get mad. I was afraid of conflict. I was afraid of losing my family." Then he broke down. Not loud sobbing, but that choked kind of crying a man tries to hold in and fails. I knew. That was the sound of a man hitting the bottom of his own shame. I put my hand on the table and looked straight at him. "Andrew, I didn't come here to attack you. But you have to understand this isn't just about Melissa. It's about you, about your silence." He lowered his head. I continued, "If a stranger insulted me, it would hurt. But not as much as you standing there, and not defending your own mother." His knuckles turned white as he clenched his fists. "Mom, I'm sorry. I should have spoken up. I should have set boundaries with Melissa. I should have told her you're not a burden." I spoke gently, but firmly, but you didn't. And the price of silence is sometimes very high. Andrew choked. "I know. Now I've lost my wife, almost lost my house, and nearly lost my mother." I leaned back in my chair. "Andrew, you haven't lost your mother. But from now on, you must treat me as someone who deserves respect. Not as an ATM. Not as the person who always stays, no matter how hurt she is." He nodded over and over, tears dropping onto his hands. "Mom, I'm not asking you to forget. I just hope you'll give me a chance to prove I can be better." I spoke slowly. "You'll have a chance. But it comes with responsibility." He looked up, and I gave him the decision I'd been thinking about for nights. 1. You will pay back part of the money I supported you with. Not all of it, not right away, but I want you to pay back 50% within 6 years. Andrew froze. "Mom, I don't know if I can." "Andrew," I cut in. "Responsibility isn't always easy, but it's how you grow up." 2. I will see Lily freely without Melissa's control. Lily is my granddaughter. No one gets to use her as a tool to control me. Andrew nodded quickly. Mom, I promise. Lily loves you. I'll bring her to see you every week. 3. You will stand on your own feet. No more borrowing from me. No more expecting. If it's a life or death emergency, I'll help. Otherwise, you have to manage your own life. Andrew took a deep breath, still shaking. Mom, I understand. I'm willing to do anything to make things right. I looked at him for a long moment. To me, Andrew no longer looked like a 38-year-old man falling apart. He looked like that little boy again asking if I would get old someday. Softly I said, Andrew, you're not a bad person. You're just weak. And I can't let your weakness drag me to the bottom anymore. He stammered. I'll get stronger, Mom. For you. For Lily. For myself. I nodded. Good. Then, from today on, no more blaming. No more avoiding. No more letting anyone else control your life. Andrew wiped his tears and, for the first time, looked at me with truly grown-up eyes. Mom, thank you. Thank you for still being here. I gave a sad little smile. I'm not here because of you. I'm here because of me, because I choose to love you, but I don't choose to disappear for you. We stood up. Andrew hugged me, a hug heavy with guilt, but also full of hope. I placed my hand on his back and closed my eyes. In that moment, I knew. An old chapter had ended, a new one had begun. But for the story to reach its true ending, a lot more still had to happen. Have you ever had a difficult conversation like this in your life? Did you choose silence, forgiveness, or boundaries? Share it in the comments. Your story might be the strength someone else needs today while listening to Voices of Auntie Tay. And don't forget to subscribe, because in part 6, Andrew will face the real consequences of his life choices, and I'll show you how I stayed standing through it all. After that meeting at the library, I walked out feeling lighter, but also strangely unfamiliar with myself. The evening wind blew through the row of red maples. The sound of cars on Maplewood Avenue felt distant, almost unreal. I stood on the library steps for a long time, watching Andrew's figure grow smaller, his shoulders weighed down by all the responsibility he had avoided for so long. I realized something. Forgiveness doesn't make you weak. Setting conditions doesn't mean you lack love. It only makes love more mature. That night, I sat by the window, sipping chamomile tea. This time, the smell of the tea didn't remind me of pain anymore. It reminded me of calm. But life rarely lets us stay calm for long. Just 3 days after that meeting, Andrew called me. Mom, the bank sent the final notice. If I don't pay the overdue amount in 10 days, they'll start the foreclosure process. I heard his voice, and my heart sank. Not because of the house, but because this was the first real collision between Andrew and the consequences of his own choices. How much do they need? I asked. $15,800. Late fees, penalties, and what's missing from the last 2 months. Andrew's voice trembled. I don't have enough. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath. In the past, a sentence like that would have sent me running to him, opening my wallet, pulling out money, transferring it without a second thought. But I was no longer the old Linda. You have to handle this yourself, Andrew. There was silence on the other end for a few seconds. Then he said something that hurt my heart and made me proud at the same time. I know. I just called. So you'd know. I'm trying. I'll find a way. I'll face it. That was the first time I heard my son say, I'll face it. No blaming, no dodging, no begging. I put my hand over my chest and felt something soft open up inside my heart. You can do it, Andrew. And I believe in you. 2 weeks later, Andrew sold his old truck, the one he'd kept for 12 years, the one he used to drive me to the supermarket every holiday. I knew it hurt him. Because for a man, it's not easy to let go of something that once symbolized his independence. He managed to pay most of the debt, but there was still a gap. So he called his old construction company and asked to come back, even though the only position left was lower than before, and he accepted it. A man who can put his ego aside is a man you can respect. And Melissa? While Andrew was spinning between the bank, work, and paperwork, Melissa was posting on Instagram, beach trips, fresh nails, cocktails, silk dresses, a bright smile. That told me something very clearly. Someone who can walk away that easily is never truly a loss. They are just a goodbye at the right time. But the sad thing was that Lily stayed with her mother 3 days a week. Andrew called me. Mom. She can't sleep. She keeps asking why Mommy and Daddy don't live together anymore. I don't know what to tell her. My heart ached, but I had to say, tell her the simplest truth. Mommy and Daddy aren't happy together anymore. But Mommy and Daddy still love Lily. That's the only thing a child really needs to know. Then on a Friday afternoon, Andrew came to my house with Lily. When the door opened, Lily ran in and hugged me. Grandma, I missed you. I knelt down and wrapped my arms around her. The smell of her hair, the baby shampoo scent I always used to buy for her choked me up. Grandma! Daddy said I can stay here today. I want your apple pie. I laughed through my tears. All right, I'll make your favorite one. That was the first peaceful evening after months of chaos. Lily sat on a little chair in the kitchen, legs swinging, coloring while she asked, Grandma, Mommy said, you're busy so you don't come over. Is it because you don't love me anymore? My hands paused for a second. Then I answered softly, No, sweetheart. Grandma loves you more than anything. But sometimes, grown-ups need time to heal. Lily nodded. She didn't fully understand, but she understood enough to know Grandma wasn't abandoning her. When Andrew came back to pick Lily up, he stood in the kitchen doorway for a long time, watching us. I saw guilt in his eyes, but also gratitude. Mom, he said quietly. Thank you for not letting Lily get stuck in the middle of all this. I looked at him. Lily isn't at fault. And you shouldn't torture yourself forever either. What you need to do now is get back up. Not for me. For yourself and for Lily. Andrew took a deep breath and nodded. Mom, I signed the contract to start working again. I found a small apartment near Lily's school. I'm going to live simply for a while. No more bars, no more reckless spending, no more chasing other people's lives. I smiled. You're going in the right direction, Andrew. A month later, Andrew called me. Mom, I sold the house. After paying off the bank, I still have $40,000 left. I'm going to send you $20,000 this month. I stayed silent for a few seconds, not because of the money, but because my son had finally become a man who owns his responsibilities. All right, I said. But remember, Andrew, the money I take is repayment, not a ransom for your mistakes. I understand, Mom. And I knew he really did. That night, I sat in front of a landscape painting I was working on. Soft brush strokes, shades of green blending into yellow. I realized, after all those years putting my child above everything, I had finally learned how to place myself at the center of my own life. A rare sense of peace filled the room. I had loved. I had hurt. I had let go. I had stood up again. And now, I was truly living. But the story didn't end there. Because there was still one person, Melissa, the one who had helped create most of this storm, and you won't believe what happened when she came back, knocking on my door. Not to apologize, but for a completely different reason. I'll tell you that in the next part. But before we move into the new chapter, what do you think Melissa came back for? Money? Lily? Or just to prove something? Leave your guess in the comments. I read every share. It's what helps me keep telling these raw, honest stories for this community. And if you're still walking with me up to this point, don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay so you don't miss the next parts of this story. I never imagined that after everything that happened, the first person to knock on my door on a gray, rainy afternoon would be Melissa. That day, the sky felt like heavy lead. Raindrops slid down the window glass in long lines, warping the world outside. I was baking an apple pie for Lily when I heard the knock, soft but insistent. I opened the door, and there she was, standing in the damp hallway. Melissa, no designer dress, no perfectly styled curls, no bright red lipstick. Just a woman who looked like she'd lost her entire world overnight. Dark circles under her eyes, worn coats soaked through, hands shaking from the cold or from fear. Linda, her voice was hoarse. I need to talk to you. I folded my arms across my chest. What is it, Melissa? She swallowed hard, glancing aside as if trying to swallow her own pride. Can I come in? It's important. I looked at her for a long few seconds, long enough to remember the day she liked the message that pushed me out of their lives, but I still opened the door. Not for Melissa, but because I believe kindness, when used with boundaries, can sometimes be a sharper mirror than any angry words. She sat down at the kitchen table and looked around my house. The way she looked was different. No judgment, no criticism, no superiority, just sadness. "Linda," she began, "I'm in trouble." I didn't say anything. She went on, I thought I did the right thing leaving Andrew. The new man in my life. He was rich. He promised to take care of me." Her voice shook. "But he wasn't who I thought he was." Her hands were clenched so tightly they turned white. "He controls everything. My phone, my money, my schedule. I don't even know how it happened. But now, I don't have a cent. No home. No job." I stayed silent. Melissa took a shaky breath. "And I need help. I need money for a lawyer. I need a place to stay for a few days." I looked straight into her eyes. "Melissa, let me ask you plainly. Did you come here for me or for my money?" She froze. Her mouth opened, but no words came out immediately. In her eyes, I saw something that wasn't regret, but fear, both. The words tumbled out. I know you think him awful, but I really don't have anyone else." Her head dropped low, shoulders trembling. "I was wrong about you. I was wrong about Andrew. I was wrong about Lily. But please, don't leave me like this." For the first time, Melissa didn't look like a selfish, arrogant woman. She looked like a lost child in the very life she had built herself. I slowly wiped my hands on a kitchen towel and said, "Melissa, what exactly do you want me to do?" She looked up, hope flickering in her eyes. I need $5,000 to cover a temporary legal fee. And a few weeks here, just a few weeks. Linda, I promise I won't bother you. I'll cook my own food, clean up, take care of myself." I poured myself a cup of tea. I didn't offer her one. I needed to keep some distance, the distance of someone who had been deeply hurt. "Melissa," I said slowly, "I'm going to say 3 things. Listen carefully." She nodded. "First, I'm not giving you money." Her eyes widened in panic. "But," I raised my hand to stop her. "I will give you the number of an organization that helps women in financial control and abuse. They have free lawyers, and they're better than anyone you could pay." She swallowed her tears and nodded. "Second, you can't stay here." Melissa lowered her head, her voice cracking. "Linda, please. It's not because I hate you," I said. "But Lily needs stability. Andrew needs stability. You and I living under the same roof would only create another war. We have to let the child be at peace." Her lips shook, her body trembling. "And third," I looked deep into her eyes. "I forgive you." She looked up, confused. "I forgive you," I repeated, clearly. "But forgiveness doesn't mean going back to the old roles. It doesn't mean I'm going to protect you, fund you, or take your side. Forgiveness simply means I want to be free, without hatred weighing on my shoulders." Melissa gasped, as if those words were the most painful ones. She burst into tears. "Linda, I know I ruined everything, but I don't even know where to start fixing it." I stood up and handed her a small piece of paper. "Call this number, Maplewood Support Center for Women. Tomorrow at 10 a.m., they still have an open counseling slot." She took the paper with both hands as if it were the last piece of hope she had. I opened the door. "Go, Melissa, and for the first time in your life, save yourself." She stood up, eyes red and swollen. Then she looked at me, no jealousy, no pride, no contempt, only gratitude. "Linda," she whispered, "thank you." Then she left. Her footsteps faded down the hallway. The door closed, and I stood there for a few seconds, feeling something very clearly. I had won. Not because I got revenge, but because I didn't let my pain turn me into someone I'm not. I chose kindness, but kindness with borders, with limits, with a fence, and only those who deserve it are allowed to step inside. But I didn't know that evening, when Andrew brought Lily over, she accidentally said something that made both of us freeze. One sentence that revealed the real reason Melissa had come back. And that was when I understood. This story was far from over. If you were me, would you help Melissa? Or would you close the door completely? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be the strength someone else needs right now. And don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay, because in the next part 8, you'll hear Lily's shocking words and the final truth about Melissa. That night, Andrew brought Lily to my house right on time, just like he promised. She ran straight into the kitchen and hugged me tightly like she always did. But unlike every other time, she was quieter that evening. There was something in her eyes. Sad, heavy, not like a 6-year-old child at all. I gave her a slice of apple pie, and Andrew leaned against the wall, looking exhausted but trying to act upbeat. "Mom, I'll let Lily play in the room for a bit, okay? I want to talk to you." I nodded. But before Lily ran off, she tugged on my sleeve. "Grandma, Daddy said Mommy Melissa is sad. But I already know why she's sad." My heart stopped for a moment. I knelt down so I could look her in the eyes. "Why is that, Lily?" She said it so lightly, so innocently, like she was just telling me about her homework at school. But the sentence that came out of her mouth felt like a cold knife cutting through both my heart and Andrew's. Because Mommy Melissa is about to be kicked out of the new man's house, and she said, "It's okay, I still have another way. I'll make that old lady Linda feel sorry for me and open her door." I froze on the spot. Andrew's face turned pale, like all the blood had drained out of it. The small room seemed to spin. The air turned thick and heavy, pressing against my chest. I put my hand gently on Lily's shoulder. "Lily, when did you hear Mommy say that?" She tilted her head, thinking, "Yesterday, when Mommy was talking to Auntie Sharon. Mommy thought I was asleep." I swallowed, feeling a sharp pain in my throat, like swallowing needles. Andrew was stunned. "Lily, your mom said." "She said those exact words?" The little girl just nodded. "Children don't lie in the way adults do." I stood up. A cold, calm feeling washed over me, not because I was shocked, but because I understood. Melissa didn't come back looking for a way to live. She came back looking for an advantage. And once again, she chose me as the life raft she could grab whenever she pleased. Andrew sank into a chair and covered his face with his hands. "Mom, I'm sorry. I didn't know. I didn't think." His voice broke into pieces. I walked over, placed my hand on his shoulder. "Andrew, you don't need to apologize for what someone else did. You just need to be responsible for your own life." He looked up, eyes red. "But Melissa used Lily to get to you. I don't think I can forgive that." I sighed. "There's no need to forgive. You just need to set boundaries." That night, after Lily fell asleep in the living room, Andrew and I sat drinking tea. Outside, it was still raining. The raindrops hitting the window sounded like the hard, fast heartbeat of someone being squeezed too tight. "Mom," Andrew began, his voice trembling. "I know this is going to sound crazy, but I have to say it." I looked at him. "What is it, Andrew?" He took a deep breath, like he was preparing to say the hardest thing. "I think Melissa is trying to come back to take Lily." I frowned. "But Lily is already splitting time between you two." Andrew shook his head. "No, Mom. I think she wants full custody. She's going to use the divorce to attack me. She knows I'm weak right now. She knows my finances are a mess. She knows I'm easy to beat in court." I felt a cold wave go through my whole body. Andrew continued, "And if Melissa gets full custody, she'll control Lily, use her as a tool to squeeze money out of me, or as a shield." I clenched my hands, not because I was angry for myself, but because I was angry for Lily, a sweet, innocent child being turned into a battlefield for adults. "Andrew," I said, "we're not going to let that happen." He looked at me like a man who'd just seen light at the end of a tunnel. "Mom, help me. Not with money, with your mind, with your experience, with your strength." I smiled softly, but it was the smile of someone who already knew exactly who she was now. "Andrew, you're grown. But there are still things a mother can do, and one of them is protect her family." Right at that moment, Andrew's phone rang. He looked at the screen. His face turned green. It was Melissa. He didn't pick up. A message came in right away. "Andrew, I know Lily is with you. I'll come get her tomorrow morning. I have that right. Another message. And I'm going to talk to a lawyer about custody. Lily should live with a mother who knows her place. Andrew squeezed his phone so hard his knuckles turned white. I looked at him. Andrew. From this moment on, you're not fighting alone anymore. He lifted his head. I got up, turned off the stove, closed the window, then sat back down in front of him. Listen carefully. I spoke slowly, clearly. Tomorrow, I'm going with you to see a family lawyer. I have all the proof of emotional neglect. You have proof that Melissa left because of money. Lily has her words as a child, a testimony the court takes very seriously. Andrew swallowed hard. Mom, will I be able to keep Lily? I put my hand over his. We will fight to the end, and you're not the weak man you used to be. You've stood back up. You've paid a price. Now it's time you protect your daughter. Andrew cried. Not the tears of someone collapsing, but the tears of someone who'd just found a reason to stand. I looked toward the living room, where Lily lay curled up like a little kitten, and I thought to myself, there are some battles a mother is willing to fight twice in her life, not for her son, but for her granddaughter, for the next generation who deserves to be protected from the pain adults create. Then I whispered, almost like making a vow, Andrew, this will be my last battle, and I will win. If you were Linda, what would you do when your daughter-in-law comes back for her own benefit and might try to take your grandchild? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be exactly what someone else out there needs to hear. And don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay, because Part 9 will be when Linda and Andrew face Melissa directly in a tense legal battle where all the truths finally come to light. The next morning, before the sun was fully up, I was already awake making coffee. The smell of hot coffee filled the little kitchen, mixing with the worry and determination in my chest. This wasn't a fight I wanted, but it was a fight I had to step into. Not to get revenge on Melissa, not to prove anything to Andrew, but for a 6-year-old girl named Lily, a child who didn't deserve to be trapped between adult ambition. At 7 a.m., Andrew walked into the kitchen. His eyes were red, his shirt still wrinkled, but there was something new in his gaze. Resolve. Mom, I'm ready. I set a cup of coffee in front of him. You're not alone, Andrew. I'm here. He nodded the nod of someone hanging on to their last bit of hope. At 8:15, we arrived at Attorney Henry's office. A small room, old wooden walls but very clean, a desk covered in files. Henry looked at us over his thick glasses. Linda, Andrew, I've read through the messages and notes Linda sent last night. The situation isn't easy, but it isn't hopeless either. Andrew nearly jumped in his seat. I don't want to take Lily away from her mother. I just want her to be somewhere safe. Henry nodded. That's exactly what the court wants to hear. And fortunately, you have the most important thing. From Lily? I asked. Henry gave a sad little smile. Yes. A 6-year-old may not speak formally in court, but her statements, if recorded through a child specialist, carry a lot of weight. Andrew clenched his hands. Can we prove Melissa neglects her and puts money above her child? Yes, Henry replied. But what will truly decide whether Andrew wins is proof of stability in his home environment. I looked at Andrew. You have a new job now. You have a new apartment. You've changed. Henry nodded. That's right. The court always looks for positive change. You just need to show that you've grown, that you're responsible, and that you have steady family support. I glanced at Andrew and smiled slightly. That part, I'll handle. Andrew exhaled a little of the weight lifting off his shoulders. The meeting lasted almost 2 hours. In the end, Henry said, You two have a very strong chance. But remember, Melissa won't give up easily. I leaned back in my chair. I know. She's not coming back for Lily. She's coming back for power and money. Henry set the file down. Linda, people like Melissa only attack when they think you're weak. But this time, she's about to meet the strongest version of you. I didn't answer. I just looked out the window, where sunlight was coming through the trees like a reminder. Every battle a mother fights carries the shape of love behind it. When we stepped out of the office, Andrew suddenly stopped on the steps. Mom, his voice was choked. If you weren't here, it'd have already fallen apart. I touched his shoulder. Andrew, I'm not here to save you. I'm here to remind you that the man you're meant to become is still waiting for you to catch up to him." He closed his eyes and let the morning breeze wash over his face. That afternoon, while Lily was napping, Andrew and I sat down to organize all the evidence for the case. The message where Melissa said she would make old lady Linda feel sorry and open the door. Receipts showing Melissa's reckless spending. Photos of Lily sleeping at my house while Melissa disappeared for days. Notes about Melissa, leaving Lily with neighbors repeatedly. A child's soft testimony about the sentence, "Mom doesn't need you, she just needs money." Every sheet of paper, every line of text felt heavy as stone. As we sorted, I said, "Andrew, I know you still love Melissa." He froze. "Mom, loving someone doesn't mean they're good for you. I know that now." I looked at him, my heart both aching and quietly proud. "You've grown up, Andrew." He gave a tired little smile. Late, but better than never. In the evening, as Andrew was about to leave, Lily hugged me tight. "Grandma, if Daddy wins, I get to stay with him more, right?" I stroked her hair. "You'll stay wherever your heart feels the safest." Lily nodded thoughtfully, then ran over and grabbed Andrew's hand. That moment made my heart tremble. A man hurt, but standing again. A child innocent, but understanding more than adults think. And a grandmother, the last person holding everything together so it doesn't collapse. As Andrew reached the door, he turned back. "Mom, thank you for not giving up on me. But I promise, this is the last time I make you fight for me." I smiled. "No, Andrew, you're going to fight for yourself. I'll just be standing behind you." Then I closed the door. Slowly, softly, but with meaning. In the growing darkness of the living room, I understood. The real battle would start soon. Melissa is not the type to back off. And the next time she comes, it won't be to ask. It will be to demand. Maybe custody. Maybe money. Maybe reputation. But I, Linda Evans, have lived long enough to know this. Some battles a mother still has to lead. Not because her son is weak, but because her grandchild is innocent, and I will stand until my very last breath. Do you think Linda should keep being firm, or soften her heart one last time to avoid more conflict? Have you ever seen someone use a child as a tool? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your story might be the strength someone else out there needs. And don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay to watch Part 10, the first direct confrontation between Linda and Melissa at the preliminary hearing, where the truth comes out and every mask finally falls. The morning of the hearing came faster than I expected. I put on the cream sweater Lily likes and buttoned it carefully before walking into Maplewood City Hall. Not because I wanted to look strong, but because I wanted to feel like myself. Steady, calm, not afraid. Andrew walked beside me, not saying much. Just taking even steps, trying to keep his hands from shaking. I knew this was the most important moment of his life since the day Lily was born. And Melissa? She arrived 3 minutes late, but the way she walked in like someone who'd been pushed out of heaven and was trying to hold on to whatever glow she had left changed the whole atmosphere in the room. Beige coat, hair in a neat bun, light makeup, eyes glistening as if about to cry. She looked very victim, very fragile, very calculated. I sighed. A person can change their expression very quickly, but their nature doesn't change overnight. The judge walked in, voice stern but warm. The preliminary hearing between Andrew Collins and Melissa Hart regarding custody of the minor child, Lily Collins, is now in session. Andrew clasped his hands and rested them on his knees. Melissa started sniffling as soon as her lawyer began. "Your Honor, Melissa is a loving mother who has cared for her child from the beginning. She simply wants Lily to live in a stable, low-conflict environment." Meanwhile, Andrew, due to financial and emotional pressure, is currently unable to provide that. I looked over. Melissa dabbed her eyes with a tissue, just as I expected. Then it was Andrew's lawyer, Henry's turn. "Your Honor, Andrew has gone through a difficult period, but he is clearly recovering. He has a new job, a new place to live, and strong support from his family. More importantly, Lily has expressed fear about being with her mother, and this has been documented by a child psychologist." Melissa jumped up. "That's not true. Lily is not afraid of me." The judge banged the gavel. Miss Hart, this is not the time to interrupt. Melissa sat, her eyes shooting sparks at me. You put those ideas in her head. I didn't react. I didn't need to prove anything to anyone. The truth can stand on its own. The hearing continued. Andrew's lawyer presented a record of Melissa's many absences, over days at a time, extravagant spending with unclear sources of money. The text message, where Melissa said, "I'll make that old lady Linda feel sorry for me," and open her door. The psychologist's notes about Lily's anxiety, evidence of Melissa leaving Lily with neighbors multiple times. Each piece of evidence was laid on the table, like a brick in a wall. Of truth. Melissa began to shake more and more. I looked at her, and instead of anger, I felt nothing. Just empty. Some people choose the wrong path so many times that they simply can't walk back. Then came the part I knew Melissa feared most. My testimony. The judge asked me to stand. My heart gave one hard beat, but as I walked to the stand and placed my hand on the little Bible, I realized I wasn't shaking anymore. It felt like id crossed over from fear into strength. "Please address the court," the judge said. I took a deep breath. "Your Honor, I'm not here to take custody of my granddaughter. I only want Lily to live where she feels safe." I looked straight at the judge. Melissa is not a bad mother, but she has repeatedly allowed her emotions and personal ambitions to override Lily's needs. Melissa burst out, "You're lying!" The judge banged the gavel again. I continued. "Lily has told me she doesn't want to sleep at her mother's house because Mom is always sad, Mom is always yelling, and Mom tells me not to tell Daddy things." The judge took notes. Andrew bowed his head, his shoulders shaking with emotion. Melissa glared at me with pure hatred. But I kept going, my voice steady. "I don't want Melissa to suffer. I just want Lily to have peace." That was the one sentence that made Melissa lower her eyes for a brief moment, as if something deep inside her finally hit. The hearing ended after 90 minutes. The judge said, "I will issue a decision within 7 days." The doors to the courtroom opened, and a draft from the hallway swept in, cold enough to raise goosebumps. Melissa turned to me, eyes red and swollen, but her voice sharp as a knife. "You think you've won, don't you? I'm not going to lose my child." I looked at her, not angry, not afraid, just sad. "Melissa, if you had ever loved Lily, even half as much as you love yourself, we wouldn't be standing here today." She stepped back as if someone had slapped her pride. When we walked outside, Andrew stopped on the courthouse steps and looked at me for a long time. "Mom, I don't know what the decision will be, but because of you, I've done everything I possibly could." I put my hand on his back. "Andrew, no matter what happens, you are a good father. The court only decides paperwork, but Lily's heart shall decide for herself where home is." Andrew broke down crying, and I hugged him, hugged a man who had climbed back from the edge and found himself again. That night, I watched Lily sleeping on my sofa, her face soft as an angel's, and I whispered to myself, any battle that comes from love is worth it. But I also knew the next 7 days would be the longest of my life. In your opinion, what will the court decide? Where do you think Lily will truly be at peace with her father or her mother? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words might help someone going through the same struggle feel less alone. Don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay to watch Part 11 when the official ruling is announced, and the fate of Lily, Andrew, and even Melissa is finally decided. 7 days of waiting. 7 days that felt like 7 winters. Every night, I lay awake listening to the ticking of the clock, my chest heavy as if someone had placed a stone on it. Not because I was afraid of losing, but because I was afraid that Lily, a 6-year-old girl who only knew how to draw flowers and houses with 2 hearts, would end up living in the middle of a war she didn't create. On the 7th morning, as the first light slipped through the curtains, my phone rang. A text from Henry, the lawyer. "There's a decision. Meet me at the courthouse at 9:30. I squeezed the phone until my fingers went white. It was time. Andrew picked me up at 9. He wore a blue shirt, buttoned all the way up, as if trying his best to look proper, but his eyes couldn't hide the fear. "Mom, the only thing I'm scared of today is that if the court gives Lily to Melissa, it'll break her." I put my hand on his shoulder. "You've done everything you can. The rest, we leave to life." He nodded, took a deep breath, and turned away so I wouldn't see the tear that slipped down. When we walked into the courtroom, I saw Melissa already there. She wore light makeup, a white blouse, and a black skirt, trying to look like the perfect good mother. But her restless eyes and twitching leg told me she wasn't as confident as she wanted to appear. Something in me knew that today, every mask would fall. The judge walked in. No one spoke. No one moved. The air felt thick. Then the judge opened the file, pushed his glasses up, and said, "After reviewing all evidence, testimony, the child's care history, and the psychologist's report, the court has reached a decision." My heart felt like it stopped. Official custody of minor child Lily Collins will be granted to. Andrew's grip tightened around my hand under the table. I could feel his breath catch. Andrew Collins. For a moment, I didn't hear anything else. Not the judge's further explanations. Not the scratching of pens. Not even anyone breathing. Only the sound of my own heart pounding, ready to burst. Andrew leaned toward me, eyes red but blazing like sunrise. "Mom, did you hear that?" His voice shook so much it barely sounded like an adult's. I squeezed his hand tightly. "I heard it, son." Just one short sentence, but it felt like an entire mountain of weight had been lifted from both of us. And Melissa? When the judge ruled in Andrew's favor, she froze as if a boulder had been dropped on her. No tears. Just confusion, anger, and something else, emptiness. The judge went on. "Melissa Hart is granted visitation on the 2nd and 4th weekends of each month, with the condition that visits are supervised for the first 3 months. Melissa burst out, "No, I'm her mother. I don't need supervision." The judge looked at her, eyes cool and firm. "You left the family for a significant period of time, and the record shows a pattern of prioritizing your own interests over the child's. Supervision is necessary to protect Lily's best interests." Melissa bit her lip so hard it bled. But there was nothing more she could do. Her lawyer tugged her sleeve, motioning for her to sit down. Melissa looked at me not with hatred anymore, not with rage, but with collapse, like someone who finally realized that what she'd lost, she had pushed away with her own 2 hands. When we stepped out of the courthouse, Andrew hugged me tighter than he had in all 38 years of his life. "Mom, I get to keep her." I hugged him back. "No, you don't just get to keep her. You deserve to," he cried like a child. And I smiled, tears running down my face, but they weren't tears of sorrow. They were the tears of a mother who had fought till the end and finally watched her family's heart start beating in rhythm again. That afternoon, when Andrew brought Lily to my house, she ran through the door and hugged me like she was hugging the whole sky. "Grandma, Daddy said I get to stay with him more now. I'm so happy." I hugged her and breathed in the sweet apple scent of her shampoo. And I knew all wounds would heal, little by little. "Grandma," Lily whispered in my ear, "are you sad about Mommy?" I held her tighter. "No, sweetheart, I'm not sad. I just hope that one day, your mom will learn how to love the right way." Lily nodded gently. In her eyes was the light of a child who would grow up strong, kind, and full of love. A child raised on truth, not on adults' games. That night, I sat on the balcony, looking at the soft yellow streetlights, holding a cup of chamomile tea. The wind was gentle. The night was quiet. My heart was quiet too, and I understood, after everything, the real victory isn't winning a court ruling, it's winning back peace for the people you love. If you were Linda, would you say the court's decision was fair? Do you think Melissa deserves a chance to change? Share your thoughts in the comments. Your words might give hope to someone fighting a similar battle. And don't forget to subscribe to Voices of Auntie Tay for more deeply emotional stories, journeys of love, dignity, and healing that we walk through together.